Hello friends, in this video we are going to discuss a technique from Sri A.V. Sundaramji. He is a Nadi astrologer and this technique is about the position of lagna lord in your chart and how does it determine the basic nature within the native. Okay, now there are several aspects of what is called a nature of a particular human being, but this is from the perspective of how does he see the whole world, okay, from where the world begins for him. So it has three aspects. Like, there are people who think about themselves first, there are people who think about themselves and their kith and kins, their relatives and friends, and then there are people who have higher aims. They think of the whole world as a family. They think about the universal causes. Okay, so everyone has some percentage of each of these tendencies, but there are people, but there is a different gradient too in everyone. Okay, because some people are highly self-centered, some people are self-centered as well as they think about the other kids and kins also, relatives also, and there are some people who have higher percentage of doing good for the universal cause. So this is based on the position of lagna lord in one of the four rashis. Okay, and which are these four rashis? So we have to count from Aries to Pisces. We can divide these 12 rashis into three groups. The first one is the first consecutive four rashis. They are Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer. Okay, so if the lagna lord happens to be in one of these four rashis, then it is said that it is found by the Nadi astrologers that the person is more of a self-centered person. He thinks about himself before undertaking any task or before taking any action. Similarly, if the Lagna Lord is there in the next four rashis, which are Leo, Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio, these four rashis, then the person thinks about himself as well as the kids and kins, the relatives also, the near and dear ones also. So he takes into account everyone in his a bit better circle than the first one. And finally, when the Lagna Lord is there in the last four rashis, that is Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, then the person tends to think about everyone as a whole family. So he has more sense of universality than other guys. Okay, so that is one aspect of the nature. One another aspect of a human being is generally what does your mind predominates. Okay, your actions predominate is taken based on the judgment in your mind, and how does that judgment comes into picture. So there are some people who look into past more of a time, most of the time. Okay, they are kind of, you say, they are dwelling in the past, like uh, always thinking about what happened in past. There are some people who are very futuristic. They are always in the world of imagination, what is going to come tomorrow. So they are very futuristic kind of people. And then the third category is the people who think about the present moment most of the time. They are not really concerned about the future, not really concerned about the past, but most of the actions they take is based on the present moment. Present means just the immediate present and past, not very past and not very future. Okay, so how to judge this kind of thing? So this is basically based on the ruling of elements by these rashis. Okay, so if the Lagna Lord is placed in the fiery sign, then the person thinks about future a lot. Okay, he's very futuristic kind of person because Agni is very high, fire is very high, so he continuously thinks about what will happen tomorrow, what will happen day after tomorrow, and after 30, 40 years, what will I do, what will the kids do. So that kind of tendency is there in the people whose Lagna Lord is there in the fiery sign. Okay, so please make a note that I'm making these judgments based on lagna lord, position of lagna lord, and not based on the position of lagna. Okay, because lagna lord is the real intelligence behind the native. Okay, so what does that intelligence doing, based on what it is taking the action and doing the judgment. So that is based on the nature of tattvas, nature of these rashis. And if the lagna lord is placed in the watery sign, in that case the native is more likely to think about past. So he is always dwelling in past. Like in the past, there used to be a big house and this and that. So all those past things, such people are very keen to discuss about their past thing. Their actions are dependent on what happened in the past rather than what will happen in the future. Then there is a third category, which is based on the air and earthy signs. If the lagna lord is placed in the airy and earthy signs, then such people live in the present moment. They take actions based on just the immediate past and immediate future. They do not take into account uh, what happened 20 years ago and what will happen 20 years after. No, they are just they take action based on immediate causes. Okay. Now, what are these airy, fiery signs that we can think in the illustration, that we can see in the illustration deeply? We can go into it. Okay. And that's all. This is a short and sweet technique. Let's see you apply in your chart and see it works miraculously. Thank you very much. Okay, friends. So let us look at these two aspects of a human mind, of the native. Okay. So first one is center of intelligence, that we call it, center of intelligence. Now, as we all know, the lagna lord is basically the sense of intelligence, the sense of self within yourself. Okay, so you can say that if, let's say, ascendant is Aquarius, then the lord of this sign is the lagna lord, and that lagna lord basically shows how the person is going to take actions in several situations. Okay, so here we divide the whole zodiac into three groups. First is these 1, 2, 3, 4. That is Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer. These four rashis. So when the lagna lord Saturn, okay, here I am taking example of Aquarius lagna. You can take any lagna. If the Saturn happens to be in one of these four signs, then the person is more of a self-centered person. Okay, he thinks about himself before anything else, or his main action is dependent on what it is, what is in that for me rather than for anybody else. Okay, so they are more of a self-centered kind of people. Now take into account the other four signs. Okay, these are Leo, Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio. Okay, now group of these four signs. If the lagna lord happens to be in these four signs, then the person is self plus kith and kin, relatives and friends. So he'll not only think about himself, but he'll also judge what it is in there for my relatives, for my friends, for my family. Okay, so that's the second kind of nature. And the last one is more of a, you can say, more of a universal nature. Okay, so if the lagna lord happens to be in these last four signs, that is Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, then the person is more likely to think about others, in the sense that the whole world is a family. So he'll think about the whole world uh, before doing any action. Okay, so this is a person with the more universal sense. Okay, so this technique is very simple. One has to take into account the placement of lagna lord. Here the lagna lord is Saturn. So if Saturn is placed in the first four signs, then the person is self-centered. If it is in the next four signs, then he is self-centered, as well as he is more centered on the relatives and kids and kins. If he is placed in the uh, last four signs of the Kalpurush Kundli, then the person has more of a universal sense. So let us take into account the next rule, that is what predominates the mind. Okay, so basically mind disposition in time. Okay, so there are basically, you can say, three kinds of mind: the mind which is more inclined towards past, the mind which is more inclined towards future, and the mind which is more almost in present. Okay, so for that one has to look at the nature of the sign. Okay, so as we all know, the Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, these are the fiery signs. So if the lagna lord happens to be in this trine in Aries, Sagittarius, and Leo, then the mind is more towards the future. Okay, because these are Agni signs, so he'll make plans for the future. His imagination will be always running to make plans for the future. Another kind is uh, watery signs. Okay, let's say Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Now these three signs are watery signs. So when the Lagna Lord is placed in these watery signs, then the person is more inclined towards the past. Okay, so he'll be thinking what good, bad things that happened in the past, and his intelligence is directed towards those things. Then there are airy and earthy signs. Okay, earthy signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And airy signs are Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. So if he is the Lagna Lord is there in the airy sign or in the earthy sign, then person is in the present moment. He takes action based on the present condition and not based on future and past. Okay, so that's another short and sweet technique. Hope you like it and apply it in your charts. Thank you very much.